According to UNICEF, children account for 1/3 of human trafficking victims worldwide. In regions such as sub-Saharan Africa, the Caribbean, and Central America, this rate jumps to 2/3. However, these estimates are just that, estimates, because it is very difficult to identify victims. Some never come forward, others are kept well out of view by their captors, and many are hidden in remote locations. For this reason, different organizations come up with different estimates for how dire the human cost of this crime really is. For example, the Walk Free Index indicates that out of 50 million people trapped in modern-day slavery, 1 in 4 are children.
Refugee and migrant children have a higher likelihood of being trafficked, being met by danger in the same routes which are meant to lead them to safety. Once trafficked, victims are typically subjected to forced labor, sexual exploitation, child marriage, or any combination of the three. In terms of forced labor, many victims are unaware that their human rights are being infringed upon. They become so used to their circumstances that the dreadfulness of their living conditions simply becomes a fact of life. In terms of sex trafficking, it is important to understand that this rarely happens at the hands of a stranger. On the contrary, the perpetrator is typically somebody whom the victim knows and trusts. Traffickers will target individuals who are physically and/or emotionally vulnerable and will make it seem as though they are fulfilling their needs, whether they be tangible, like providing shelter or income, or intangible, like providing affection and reassurance. Furthermore, they will intentionally isolate their victims from friends and family in order to make it more difficult for them to reach out for support. Since child trafficking is a multifaceted problem, its solution must be as well. Governments should work to pass more rigid regulations preventing child labor while also holding perpetrators to a higher level of accountability. Furthermore, they should enhance the legality and safety of migration pathways to protect individuals who may otherwise resort to much riskier journeys. Corporations should ensure that their supply chains are ethical, which would entail a higher degree of integrity when it comes to product sourcing. On an individual level, we can work to prevent child trafficking by being conscientious consumers, getting involved in local anti-trafficking initiatives, and by being aware of the signs that somebody may be a victim. For children, indicators can look like signs of abuse or malnutrition, social isolation, repeated and mysterious absences from school, and being in possession of suspicious amounts of cash.
Overall, responses to any form of trafficking should extend beyond the initial rescue moment. Victims are at a higher risk of recidivism if they are not provided with proper support systems. If the factors which led someone to being trafficked in the first place remain unresolved, they are still vulnerable, even if they have been physically liberated. By providing survivors with training in financial literacy as well as career development, and by granting them greater access to mental health services, we can empower them to build better futures for themselves.